Hello, everyone. My name is Iman. I'm a community outreach specialist with Parkland Community Health Plan, and thank you for joining to get some nutrition information. Hopefully, we'll hear about some topics that'll be of great benefit to you. So I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. Her name is Heather, and she's a dietitian with the City of Dallas WIC program. So now I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Heather.
Hi, good morning, and thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be here, and as Iman mentioned, hopefully we'll get some good information today that you can take home to your families. So today I'm going to be talking about the DASH diet, and many of you may or may not have heard of this. It's very similar to the Mediterranean diet, and DASH actually stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. So this diet's been around for about 20 years, and there's been a lot of studies proving the effectiveness and the efficacy. And so hopefully, you're going to take something away today that you find helpful for yourself and your family as well. So our objectives are just basically to, talk about some reasons why this may be a good diet or a good option for you to follow for you and your family. We're going to talk about the key components of the DASH eating plan, and part of that being how to lower your sodium or your salt intake, as well as increasing those fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. So why choose this diet? Well, I think, as I know most of you on watching this may be parents of children, and that's really what we do here at WIC is we talk to moms and dads of young children, and we know that parents are really working hard to create and reinvent a healthier, better life for their children, and our own health habits and the things that we do now are going to carry with them to their adulthood as well. So it's really important that the things that we choose and the eating habits that we are choices we're making now, are going to impact not only ourselves, but our children and their future children. So this is a very family-friendly eating plan. It's not something that is just for the adults. Like, we're not asking you to cut out all your carbohydrates and eliminate food groups. It's very friendly for children. It's very healthy. And the goal of the diet is to treat high blood pressure. So we know that most of you out there, myself included, have either ourselves or people that we love that are experiencing high blood pressure. 1 out of 3 Americans has high blood pressure, which we know can lead to heart disease and stroke. And so, with it being so prevalent in our families, in our society, this is something that we really want to, change that course for our children. And a lot of things out of our control, but fortunately with blood pressure, there are some things that we can control, such as our diet and exercise. And then I think I already touched on this, but it is, budget friendly. These are normal everyday foods at the grocery store. You don't have to buy any special foods or drinks, or again, you're not cutting out entire food groups. It's a very balanced, family-friendly eating plan. And the most important thing that I want you to take away is, we really don't want a diet mentality. We know that dieting, at least when I think of it, I cringe. I think of something that I am on temporarily. It's a punishment. And, those aren't things that really we sustain. I know like 90% of weight loss diets fail. So that's pretty discouraging. So what we really want to think of this is more of a eating style that we want for our families, that we can sustain for life. So, please don't think of it as a diet as much as just a way or a style of eating that we want to choose for our families and for ourselves. So one of the key components is reducing our sodium. And I'm going to get a little more into that in the next slide, but another one is just eating less processed foods, healthier foods, more focusing on those healthy fats versus the unhealthy fats. We want to increase our fruits and vegetables, eat more whole grains versus refined grains. And of course, not surprisingly, limit sugar beverages and sweets. And I've heard this called a common sense diet, which, if you look at the key components, it does seem pretty common sense. But sometimes that doesn't always equate to easy either. So I would like to start with talking about our sodium intake. It's estimated that about 90% of Americans are eating too much salt, and I have to confess I am one of those people, one of those 90%. But this diet goes along with the dietary recommendations of about a teaspoon or about 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. And that's a good recommendation for all of us, blood pressure aside. Children are also not immune to eating too much salt. And so we really, this is kind of a good recommendation regardless of blood pressure. Some people who may have higher risk factors, such as heart disease, or their provider may ask them to restrict their sodium more. But in general, 2,300 is a good target, at least to start with. And some of the ways that you can kind of figure out what the sodium content is in a food is by looking at your food labels. I always like to start when I talk about food labels and reminding everyone that they really are based on portion sizes. So it's very important that, sometimes you'll have a container and you'll eat the whole thing and you look at the calories and you realize, wait, there was 3.5 servings in that container. So you have to multiply everything by 3.5. So just keeping in mind serving size is really important, and we want to be aware. It doesn't mean you have to always eat the serving size, but just know that, everything on that nutrition facts is based on what they're calling a serving size. So the first tip is if you're trying to reduce your sodium, just look at the label and try to choose foods that have less than 300 milligrams of sodium in a serving. So if you see 350, 400, that's probably not the healthiest choice for trying to reduce your sodium. Another way you could do that is just look for no more than 1 milligram of sodium for every calorie. So if I have a food that has 150 calories, I don't want more than 150 milligrams of sodium. And the final tip, which is something that's good not just for sodium, but for healthy things as well, just to kind of look at a product and know if it's either high or low in a certain nutrient. With sodium, we would rather it be low, but if you look at your percent daily value and it's 5% or less of a nutrient in each serving, it's considered low. So I have some nuts in front of me right now, and I'm looking at the sodium, and there's about 3% of the daily value in an ounce of nuts. So it's a pretty low, considered low sodium. Again, I'm only supposed to eat an ounce. And then on the flip side of that, if we have 20% or more daily value of a nutrient per serving, that's considered high. So if I have 25% of my daily value of sodium, that's probably not the wisest, or something that I kind of want to limit or just be really mindful. That is considered a high sodium product. So one thing we can do a lot of times is look at our labels, because what we know is the majority of the sodium in our diet isn't coming necessarily from the salt shaker. What we're putting in our food, it's coming from processed foods. So it's important to be aware of how to tell, what is a healthy choice and what is high and what's low in sodium. So some tips really quick to reduce the sodium in your diet is just try not to put the salt shaker on the table. If it's there, it's very easy to grab. At our house, we just put the pepper out. We try not to put the salt shaker on the table because inevitably somebody's going to want to salt. The other thing is try some different seasonings. I really like the Dash brand. They have some very good seasonings. I myself started an herb garden, and I feel like it's been a huge success. I put it in the front so I can see it and water it every day, but an herb plant costs about $2.50. And, when you're cooking with fresh herbs, it can actually, really improve the flavor and the seasoning so that you're not needing as much salt. Another, just a really common sense is try to think fresh. So anything that they've processed that comes in a bag or a box, more than likely they've added some sodium in there as a preservative, or to bake bread, we need salt. So again, try to use more of those fresh foods like the fruits and vegetables, less processed. Cooking at home, when you cook your meals at home, you have control over what's going into that meal. When you go to a restaurant, of course, they're going to probably add a lot of sodium because it tastes yummy, but you lose that control. But if you do go out, it is okay to ask for low sodium choices. I had a friend that used to always, she was trying to follow a low sodium diet because she was diabetic. And she'd always, when she did eat out and she'd eat fries, which wasn't that often, she'd always have them make her fries without salt. And she said, well, it's better. They come out really fresh. But it's okay to, get those dressings on the side or the gravy, or, ask for them to do some things to help reduce the sodium in your meals if you are eating out. Another common sense tip is just to try not to overeat your portions. So we know the more calories, the more sodium. So sometimes that just means, smaller portions or not getting that second helping. The other thing that I think is a positive thing is a lot of studies have shown that most people are not going to notice a modest reduction in sodium. They're not even going to be able to tell the difference, up to about 25%. So that means we could cut out 25% of our sodium and we're not even going to miss it. Studies have also shown that we can kind of shift our sense of taste to enjoy foods with lower sodium. And I can attest to that. Again, I have a family member that was diagnosed with high blood pressure, and she went on a quest to reduce her sodium. And suddenly, after she did that for a little while, she would be, oh, it's so salty. It tastes so salty. So she became very much more sensitive to the sodium and required a lot less. So just know that, if you're trying this in the beginning, it is going to get better and easier. And, our taste buds do adjust. The other thing is just kind of knowing which ingredients and which foods are naturally high in sodium. Ketchup, soy sauce, you may see, oh, low sodium soy sauce, but it's still very high in sodium. So just kind of increasing your awareness. We talked about looking at labels, but that's really important. So again, maybe you're putting your dressing on the side or the gravy not on the meal so that you can do less of it, because I know that's going to be an ingredient that's very high in sodium. And the other thing too is just comparing different brands. A lot of time on the label, we can look and we can see, no salt added or reduced sodium or low sodium. And that's obviously going to be a better choice. Or we can just flip over the label and start comparing different brands of the same food and notice that there can be really significant differences in brands as well. And the last, which most of us, we rinse our canned foods. Fresh, of course, is wonderful, but sometimes canned is, equally just healthy and is easier and more convenient. And so, with things like canned vegetables or beans or even tuna, you can actually rinse that and take out a lot of the sodium, like maybe up to 40% just by rinsing it. So those are some other ways. Washing, diluting, if you have a recipe with soup with broth, chicken broth, and you get low sodium chicken broth, but we can still add half water. And again, all those little tips are helping to reduce the total sodium. And just a really quick view, I think it's important, again, I mentioned earlier, but a lot of the foods may surprise you on this list of where the diet in the US diet, where the sodium is coming from. And you can see like white bread, really? But yeah, so again, just kind of increasing your awareness. Some of it you probably already are not surprised at. And some of it too just may mean that, we're eating a lot of bread and tortillas. So it's not that they're the most high sodium foods, but we just eat a lot of them. So increasing that awareness so that maybe you're going to eat less bread, or maybe instead of 3 or 4 tortillas, you're going to limit yourself to 1 or 2. And that also can help reduce some of the sodium in your diet. Okay, and so another focus, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is focusing on healthy fats. Those poly and monosaturated fats like olive oil and salmon, those healthy fish, have a lot of omega-3 fats as well, avocados, nuts, those are some healthy proteins that have heart healthy fats. And then as well as on the flip side of that, we're going to be limiting those saturated fats. So high fat meats, bacon, sausage, trimming the fat, trying to eat less meat, at least portion wise. 6 ounces a day or two decks of cards is kind of in your mind if you want to compare that. We don't need huge portions of meat. We really want to focus on decreasing those saturated fats like the meat and, trimming the skin off your chicken, high fat dairy. Low fat and high fat dairy have the same amount of vitamin D and calcium. We're just taking out fat. So you're going to have less calories. So trying to choose that more of those healthy unsaturated fats and less of those saturated. And then when you do eat them, be mindful of the portions and the frequency as well. So I know you guys, and most of you are probably familiar with the MyPlate, but this diet follows really well with that because we really want to encourage more fruits and vegetables. They're naturally high in fiber and potassium and nutrients and low in calories. So, one other benefit of the DASH diet is it has shown to promote weight loss in people that do need to lose weight, which can also obviously have a big impact on blood pressure. But we want to choose more of those fruits and vegetables, and two, those fruits and veggies, those again are those habits that we're teaching to our children that are going to carry them through life with healthy habits that kind of create that better path for them. So it's really important we start early with our kids. And, part of this diet, it's about 4 or 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So it is quite a lot of fruits and vegetables. So, I think it's important to remember that sometimes, you may not get there completely, but starting small and building yourself up. But too, these are very family friendly, healthy food choices and not special foods that you can't find anywhere. Another, again, component of this is just trying to do more whole grains versus refined grains. Whole grains, refined grains have a lot of the nutrients stripped out, like the fiber. And so we want to eat more whole grains. Things do substitution. If you're eating white rice, well, try some brown rice. If you're eating white pasta, try substituting some whole wheat pasta. Same for white bread. Try doing the whole wheat bread. To know if a product is really a whole grain, it should say 100% whole on there, and it should be on the label, in the first couple ingredients, you should see 100% whole. So that's really important as you're trying to determine, because sometimes we see brown bread and we automatically think maybe it's a whole grain, but it's not. You really want to look for that wording to ensure that you are getting those 100% whole grains and shifting away from those processed white grains. And then of course the low fat dairy, which I've already mentioned, but we want to go from the whole milk down to the 1% or the skim milk. Cheese is very high in sodium, so even low fat cheese is moderation. Yogurt is a great choice. Sometimes we're getting away from those processed sweets, and yogurt can be a really healthy addition if you aren't already eating it. So some low fat normal or low-fat Greek yogurt is a wonderful option. And this group is full of calcium, which again is another important nutrient along with potassium for a healthy blood pressure. So this is just a really quick, I really love this resource. If you look down there, it's the National Heart. Okay, I knew I was going to mess this up. But anyway, it's the NIH, and they have a great resource. They have some, basically some example menus, some recipes. They have a little tracking tool where you can actually compare what you're eating now to where you're trying to get to with the DASH diet. So again, that is a wonderful resource, the National Institute of Health.gov, and you can just Google DASH diet. But this is just a really simple breakdown of basically what we've talked about as far as eating more fruits and vegetables, limiting your foods high in saturated fat, like high fat meats and whole fat dairy, increasing your whole grains, really limiting those sugar sweetened beverages, and those sweet desserts and baked goods, and focusing more on those natural, less processed foods, high in those healthy fats like your omega and your omega-3s, poly and monounsaturated, healthy oils versus those tropical oils like the palm and the palm kernel. So again, I would really encourage you, if you feel like this is something to explore, that you can go to this website. They have wonderful tools for you to kind of dig a little deeper. In my last slide, I thought about giving some real specific tips, but then I thought, you know what, it really is based on you as an individual and what you're already eating and doing. And it's very important that, we don't think of that diet mentality where we're going to eliminate all our carbohydrates or cut out all the, entire food groups. We really want to make small but realistic, sustainable changes that our whole family is good with. Because again, we don't want to feel like we are restricting ourselves or punishing ourselves, because those type of changes may not be sustainable, and they're going to make you really unpopular too. So again, small changes that you feel like you can do, simple, achievable, and do it every day until it does become your new habit. And that's really important as we try to build habits. We don't want to start out with something that, we may not be able to continue with. I feel like as far as change goes, planning ahead, I know most of us, we have really busy days, whether it's taking care of your children or working or, anytime you have to be out of the house and in traffic, but just planning ahead so that you kind of know in advance, what are some healthy snacks? Like I'm going to plan for some fruit or some vegetables in my meals this week. What is it that I need to buy at the store? Do a little meal planning so that it is easier on yourself come that busy work week when you're tired to have the food already there available. Another great tip for parents is involving the children. We at WIC have seen such an amazing difference when kids help prepare the meals and get involved. Even at the grocery store, you can have them picking out the fruits and vegetables. It's a special time to spend with your child, bonding, but it's also, we know that children really are more likely to eat the foods when they actually help prepare them and choose them. So, if you decide to explore the DASH diet and make some of those healthy changes, then I would definitely encourage you to involve the whole family, because that is really a great way to make this into a new healthy lifestyle for everyone. Okay, and that is all I have today. I'm not sure how to stop sharing, but I do appreciate everybody for listening today, and I think that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Heather. So you all have.
Sorry, Mom, I don't know how to quit sharing my screen.
Oh no, you're fine.
I would say bye, but I have no idea.
You can leave it there. So
I see it. Okay.
now
Oh
you've all heard from our expert speaker from the City of Dallas WIC program about the DASH diet. So hopefully you all got some tips and tricks that'll help you out with, staying healthy, like she said, keeping up with that sodium, having some ideas for portioning and for making sustainable changes. So thank you very much, Heather. If you all would like to view more contents like this, you can visit our YouTube page. We're on all social media under the same name. We're Parkland Community Health Plan. So you could just look us up in there and find a lot of great healthy content that'll help you and your family to stay well. Definitely give this a like, shoot us a follow on Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on all platforms. So thank you, and you all have a great rest of your day.